Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the podcast. You are listening to the Wannabe Critic podcast. And today, this morning, whatever, we're going to be reviewing season 3 and season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. And if you are a video watcher, I just have to say I am so sorry for Caleb's mustache. I'm joined by Caleb Henley himself, as well as Mikey Collins. And I also have to apologize for Rex's. Actually, Rex's mustache kind of works. Like, I wouldn't be mad, if I was Rex. So there's that.
Looks like I'm from California, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, all you need to do is get some tattoos on your face and, just talk even more Californian, and you'll be gizzy to gizzy. You know what I mean?
Californians, we love face tattoos.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Californian people in California. I mean, Mike Tyson lives in California. You know what I mean? He has a face tattoo. So, like I said, we're reviewing Star Wars Rebels tonight. I can't even look at you straight, Caleb.
Where you get that one?
Yeah, I don't know. The Zoom filters are in full effect, are in full swing this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking, we've been planning, we've literally just been talking about what's to come for the show. I get a little burpy, what's to come for the show, like literally for the past 30 minutes. So finally, we all kind of came to the same conclusion that we really didn't want to be talking about this show anymore and talking about animated series anymore, from the Star Wars, franchise. And that's fine. But here we are. We're bringing it to you. We're excited to finish what we started. As I said before, I'm joined by Caleb, I'm joined by Mikey, and I'm joined by Rex. Caleb, how long did it take you to grow that mustache?
Well, I've been working on it for quite a while. At least for the last 10 minutes.
Oh my god, dude!
The eyebrows took me an extra 20.
I didn't even notice the eyebrows. Actually, holy crap! Wow.
They're like,
oh my god, they're like drawn on. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, I was trying to go for some Napoleon too. How long did it take you to grow that mustache? You remember that? So Mikey's eating a frozen substance of some sort. Is that ice cream that you're eating? That I see? What's going on?
Yogurt.
There's something wrong with this yogurt.
Zoe brought me Chick-fil-A all of a sudden. So
nice.
What?
Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Zoe for a nostalgia trip. That's awesome. Yogurt's delicious. You can't be as bad as whenever Ryan was. Oh God, Caleb has a like a biker goatee now. It can't be as bad as whenever Ryan Mazzocco himself was eating a ice cream sandwich at the beginning of our Arkham Knight discussion, which is out right now, by the way, which you can find on youtube.com/wannabecriticproductions. Just so you know. It's not nearly as disrespectful as that, but it is semi-disrespectful. No eating on the podcast. It's like whenever they tell you can't eat gum in school. It's like, don't tell me I can't eat gum. Come on. Mikey, other than your yogurt, how are you feeling?
Pretty good. About to dig in this chicken sandwich.
Okay, have fun. Make sure you mute yourself so we don't hear
kidding.
any
I'm kidding.
No, go for it. I mean, I understand. How times are hard. You're hard pressed for time. It is what it is,
man. No,
I've
been doing good. I've been doing pretty good.
What are you drinking there?
A little scotch.
Oh, nice. Glenlivet.
Is that what you're drinking?
No, is that what you're drinking?
No, Lagavulin.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Lagavulin. Yeah. It's a fine, elegant spirit. You know what I mean? No, I'm drinking Coke Zero, taking points from our one of our cohorts, Ryan Dalton, who said that Coke Zero tastes better than Diet Coke. And I had to give it a go. I had to give it a go for myself, and I can confirm Coke Zero does in fact taste a lot better. So, yes. Rex, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. Drinking my Viking beer.
What is that?
Is it a mead, or what is that?
No, it's a white ale.
Oh, okay, nice.
The Einstock. It's Icelandic or something.
Where's it from?
I can't pronounce the city, but it's in Iceland. So.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. That's cool.
Nice. Is it any good, or is it just like, I'm so hipster?
It's good. I love white ales. I don't think it's very hipster, but
Okay. Well, I mean, it has a literal Viking on the on the logo there. It's on the label there. So I didn't know. Ladies
that
and
make
gentlemen, moving on from the drinks. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening once again to the Wannabe Critic podcast. We get together a few times a month. We talk about random things. Sometimes we record things way in advance of when they're actually released, or basically like actually way in advance from when you actually hear them. And it's kind of sad because this time we're wrapping up our our Star Wars animated series reviews. We did Clone Wars last year, and then we went right into Rebels right after that. And we're a little burnt out from the Star Wars animated series as of right now, but who knows, that may change whenever the Bad Batch comes out, maybe potentially. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. We just talked about the future. If you want to, there's some people that support us over on patreon.com/wannabecritic. You can do so if you want to, but honestly, since you're already here and you're listening, that's really all I could ever ask for. I mean, I feel like all the other co-hosts feel the exact same way. The fact that you made it even this far, into our rants and our ramblings means a lot. But if you want to support the show in a bigger way, or in a different way rather, you can go over there and check that out. Also, want to give a shout out to Raise Energy. I tried a new flavor this time. It's called I think it's literally called guava mango, and I can in fact confirm, yep, it is delicious, and it does taste, it's more guava than mango. It's like a hint of mango. It's not as good as the grape, but it is pretty good. There's a bunch of, oh, go ahead, Rex.
why do people do that?
It you can spread it out on your palate, on the sides of your tongue. You know what I mean? Actually, it's no lie. Literally take a drink of your beer and then let it slide off the side of your mouth rather than just drinking it. Like, let it roll down the side of your mouth. It can get way more surface area of like taste. I mean,
It still tastes the same to me.
I don't know how to do it.
well, yeah. We'll have to talk about that
I don't have that skill.
Yeah, well, you have to take a bigger drink is what it is. You just got to take a bigger drink, let it roll off the entire, like the side of your tongue, and see how it goes. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff down in the description down below. If you're interested in a bigger way and you want to see other stuff that we do, and see, different things that we're affiliated with, like Raise Energy, as I mentioned before, or popcultusa.com, you can in fact go check those things out. That would be awesome. I would seriously appreciate it. But tonight we are doing a little bit of a Star Wars catch up. We are reviewing Star Wars Rebels seasons 3 and 4 because honestly, we just decided, like, let's just wrap this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, let's just do these last 2 seasons together. Let's just have one decently long discussion, kind of, and see where it goes. But I do have to ask, in our Star Wars discussions, one of us is usually doing something Star Wars related. And we were kind of, prepping for this show. And I had to ask Caleb, or, Caleb was the one that brought it up. Actually, he was like, well, I'm doing something Star Wars related. So Caleb, can you divulge exactly, what it is you've been doing that's Star Wars related?
Yeah, so I've been reading through the newer Thrawn trilogy, which is really interesting, especially since the last 2 books in that trilogy both take place after season 3 of this. The second book, which I think is Thrawn Alliances, takes place immediately after the events in the season 3 finale for Rebels. So that's kind of interesting. And then I finished that book a while back. So I started Thrawn Treason, which is the 3rd book. And it's kind of, I think it's taking place around the same time, like kind of around the same time as season 4 is going on. It's kind of interesting to kind of see more of a bigger picture of what all Thrawn is kind of up to. It's really cool, and I like those books a lot, and I think it's kind of helped my enjoyment of Rebels too. It's just kind of a nice little compliment to it.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Thrawn's really a bigger part of this last season, like more present than I thought he was going to be, for sure. Very present in season 4 especially. Yeah, that's cool though. I wish I had more time to read. I've been trying to dabble a little bit in the new High Republic series books. I've read a couple of the comics. The comics are cool. But we're not really going to get a show on that for a long time. So that's, it is what it is. Mikey, though, have you done anything that's really Star Wars related? He says no. Okay. I think you might be muted, Mikey, just so you know.
I was.
Or something might be happening with your sound there.
Nah, I
Rex.
muted myself a while ago.
Okay, gotcha. Rex, what have you been doing? Have you been doing anything Star Wars related?
No, I've just been watching Rebels.
Nice. Yeah, just you're a regular human being. Someone asked me if I've been doing anything Star Wars related. Caleb, I'm gonna throw it to you. Go ahead, ask me.
Hey, Gabe, have you been doing anything
I'm
Star
so
Wars related?
glad you asked, Caleb. Man, I've been up to a lot of things Star Wars related. Yeah, no, thank you for that, for real. So me and Jay Scammell, one fellow former Geekly Biweekly alumni, right? We've been trying to tackle this big Star Wars project, and it's been this thing of okay, we're gonna buy all these old games and go through them on Game Club. So we talked about this like months ago and haven't recorded a freaking thing until yesterday. And I think I'm going to take, I'd kind of taken some notes from some friends of mine from over at the Plastic Hearts podcast, where they did the PlayStation Book Club. And the idea was, hey, we're going to play this game for a month, or not a month, a week. We're going to play this game for a week, and we're going to, get together and we're going to podcast about it. And I was like, that sounds like a way more approachable thing to do than trying to play through every single one of these games. Cause Jace had like 12 games he wanted to go through. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And of course, in the moment, everything sounds good until you actually go to do it. And it's like, wow, this is actually super time consuming. So,
Like Coder.
yeah, like Knights of the Old Republic, that we were going to start that one first. And I was like, wow, this is a slog through a lot of this. It's interesting, but I don't want to use my video game time to play this right now, so there's that.
It's pretty slow too. Like it takes a while to get good.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're kind of playing through that as we play through the other ones, and that review will definitely be interesting. I think we're gonna get some of the Bush League guys on that one too. But we did play through and talk about The Force Unleashed. Now, The Force Unleashed, to me, I had an epiphany. Has everyone played The Force Unleashed at least at one point or another? Mikey's never played it. You've never played The Force Unleashed.
I mean, I think I picked up the controller when you and Carter were playing it when we were kids, but I've never sat down and tried to play it myself, really.
Okay. Rex?
Oh, is that the old one?
Yeah, it's the one where you play Star Killer and he holds the lightsaber backwards and he's the apprentice. Okay. And Caleb, you played it?
Yeah, I rented it when I was like a kid. So I don't think I ever actually finished it because, my rental ran out. But yeah, I had fun with it for the little bit that I did play of it.
Nice. Okay. Well said.
I think I finished it.
Yeah, I definitely finished it many times whenever I was a younger person. We talked about that, and that was fun to talk about, and kind of throw around the question, like, could we believe, like, let's say The Force Unleashed was canon? Would it be so crazy to believe that Darth Vader had a special pupil outside of the Inquisitors that he was having do secret things? And we're, me and Jace both kind of came to the conclusion. It's like, no, I don't think that's a weird thing at all to actually think about Darth Vader having someone specific that was kind of his go-to to kind of help him hunt down Jedi that was, more adept than the other Inquisitors. So what do you think, though? Like, just to ask you guys kind of the same question, like, could we see, like, what do you think The Force Unleashed could ever in any hemisphere ever be considered canon, or is it just too out there?
I think it's too out there. I think Starkiller is probably too powerful of a guy for that, and I think the Inquisitors fill that role. I don't think that having both the Inquisitors and Starkiller together makes a whole lot of sense to me, but that's just me.
Okay. What do you think, Mikey?
I mean, besides like the power thing, didn't they kind of already do that with Palpatine and Darth Maul and Darth Vader?
Well, Darth Maul is like completely neutral, kind of, when it comes to.
He was Palpatine's apprentice, and Darth Vader was his apprentice.
Yeah, but like, remember that episode in the Clone Wars where like Palpatine basically is like, "You're no longer my apprentice," and like just murks him. I think after that,
well, that's kind of what happens at the. Never mind, spoilers.
Well, I guess, but I don't know. I just don't put Maul as like, he's not like directly under Vader, so I don't know.
No, I just meant under Palpatine, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
and I
feel
think
you.
that was kind of like the part of the inconsistency too for me, as like, what's the difference? Like, why is Maul getting murked whenever the Inquisitors are a thing? And I guess it probably does fall because things evidently changed to where Darth Vader is now the main Sith guy, I guess, and he's trying to kind of do like his own thing. I don't know. We didn't really get a ton of information on that, in the show of Rebels, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Caleb said, it didn't make sense. I think having one that's more adept, where it's like, okay, you're kind of like, like my star pupil type thing. I don't think he could. I think the fact that he would outshine the Inquisitors just in terms of power. I could kind of see it both ways. It's like, well, you're just a really powerful. At that point, I guess you just make him the Grand Inquisitor. You know what I mean? Like at that point, but I don't know. I like the idea of Star Killer, but there's a lot of things about that game where I'm like, yeah, this would never fit in a million years. So, but anyways, just a little bit of Star Wars catching up. You know what I mean? Like because we both played the game, we talked about it, it was fun, but.
Don't the Sith always have like a pupil though, or like someone they're training, like kind of like
Two.
apprentice?
I think they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the rule of two is a very real thing, and I think that Palpatine very much subscribes to the rule of two more than other Sith users, and it's a thing in the Sith too. And you see this kind of with Vader, where the apprentice is always trying to usurp the master. And you get that in like episode 5 and 6 of Star Wars, where Vader's trying to recruit Luke to join him and become his apprentice so they can overthrow the Emperor. But that's very much, and I think you had that, even with Anakin wanting to overthrow, Palpatine right after he became Darth Vader in episode 3. So I think it's just very much a Sith mentality of they're always trying to find, like the apprentice is always trying to find someone to be their apprentice so that they can overthrow the master. It's like very much always an ongoing thing.
So, I mean, it kind of fits in that way, I guess.
Yeah. Except for the Inquisitors. I never once thought the Inquisitors were even close to being powerful enough to even think about throwing over the Emperor, and I mean, I guess it's all kind of subject to what we've seen, on screen at this point. But yeah, no, like I totally agree with you, Caleb. I think the idea of Inquisitors is just such kind of there's a lot we don't know about that whole process, and I'd like to know more. So listeners, if you know anything.
Well, have you played through like Jedi Fallen Order?
No.
Well, you see, that's your
Play it.
problem. Yeah, it's like that kind of describes it. Because yeah, the Inquisitors at the end of the day, they're just all like Jedi that have been tortured into becoming these tools for the Empire.
Yeah.
Oh, so they were already existing Jedi, basically.
Yeah, so they're all existing Jedi, and you even get that like in Rebels too, because that one, the Grand Inquisitor was a Temple Guard.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but it's not like they're just these random people who have been trained in the dark side. They're all fallen Jedi who have been, turned.
Yeah, and we talked about, that was the thing too, is we talked about Jedi Fallen Order a little bit and how I just really can't get into it at all. I'm gonna beat it at some point. To me, like The Force Unleashed feels like literally the best Star Wars game because you feel just so OP and like it's like, yeah, this guy's a Sith Lord, literally like an up and coming Sith Lord, and he can do pretty much anything. And then you get completely wrecked by Darth Vader, and it's like, okay, so that shows how strong Vader is. I don't know, like I wanted to feel that. I just to kind of like switch my mind to make it feel like Souls like. With Jedi Fallen Order, it's a struggle for me. I just need to sit down and like give it the time it deserves, though, because I know I'm gonna like it. I'm not hating on the game. I'm just saying I've been having a hard time kind of getting into it. But
I don't hate that either.
Yeah. Mikey, do you have something you want to say? Would you raise your hand, Mikey?
I don't remember.
Okay, gotcha. You're right. You threw the hand up. I wasn't 100% sure. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it comes to be the time where we actually are going to review seasons 3 and 4 of Star Wars Rebels. Okay, to get started, ladies and gentlemen, with Rebels, Star Wars Rebels seasons 3 and 4. We're gonna do things a little bit differently, kind of this time. Normally we'd go like, episode arc by episode arc, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I think it's redundant. I think it's boring. I think it's formulaic. I'd rather just have kind of a general discussion around things that happen in the show and what we thought about those things. Because ultimately, I'm going to break it down for you, ladies and gentlemen. Rebels seasons 3 and 4 is literally continuing to build the rebellion and take back Lothal. The end. That is literally Rebels seasons 3 and 4, with a lot of things sprinkled in between. But that's the main quest. Build the rebellion, take back Lothal. Rex, I'm gonna kill you. What?
I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like people overhyped this show for me.
Dude, same. I have to agree a little bit.
I feel like that's hard to say, but I'm gonna say it.
Who overhyped it?
Literally everybody. Literally everybody for me. Here's the thing. Okay, hold on. Pump the brakes, everybody. Just wait one freaking second. In true wannabe fashion, we got to ask the question, right? Do we enjoy the show? And then we can go from there. Rex, don't you ever try and supersede the wannabe. You understand me? God, I will kick you.
All right, let's go ahead.
I will mute you so fast.
Rate this bad boy. How many stars you giving it, Gabe?
Yeah, no decimals. Caleb, do you like Star Wars Rebels?
Oh, dude, I love it.
Okay.
I love this show.
Okay.
Like, absolutely love it. And I think it sucks that for you and Rex, for your first times to be watching this show, not of your own initiative, but being forced to adhere to like a time schedule where you felt like you were having to be force fed this show. That's where I'm at. Like, that's where I'm at, like with hearing you guys, because it kind of sucked. Like,
we took months. We took months to watch the show. We took a long time to watch the show.
It's not the time frame. It's just the overarching.
Yeah. And you told me, Gabe, that like you binged the last part of the show all at once before we're recording this. So you're not watching it like a normal person where you're watching it on your own, like over a long period of time. You're binging it because you have to. And probably the same with Rex, because both of your guys' lives are super busy, like anybody else's. And you guys are like, well, crap, we got to get this show done. So you're having to force feed yourself and binge it. And it's like this like thing, this weight that hangs over you until like the show runs up. And then there's no possible way that's not like hampering or like, I don't know, like worsening the experience of it all. Whatever.
Go ahead, Rex.
I feel like there's a little truth to that, Caleb, but at the same time, I feel like a show has got to make me care and want to come back. And a majority of those episodes don't do that for me. And it was the same way with Attack of the the Clone Wars for me. Like I watched that on my own initiative and I still felt that way.
Well, that makes more sense, because if you don't like the Clone Wars, or if you're not like able to get into that, then it makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get into this. Like I get that. Like that makes sense. It's a little
harder to get into it, like for me. And I don't want to go. I don't know if we're gonna go right into it about
Hold on. Yeah, just wait. Okay, Caleb likes the show. Caleb thanks for idiots for binging it.
I didn't say that.
I'm teasing.
Because that's not necessarily your guys' fault.
Well, and I will say too. Here's the thing. I would have eventually watched the show. The podcast was the thing. It's like, okay, I want to watch this. Like, I want to talk about this. Everyone says this show is so great, right? And I love Star Wars. I love it. But everyone would not shut up about how good this show is for years. It's like, oh my God, you haven't seen Rebels? It's like, no, I do. I don't watch TV. So that was the thing, is like the podcast was the literal. I would have binged it either way, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't hate the show. I'm not saying that. I really like the show a lot, actually. I just think that for me, it was just a little, not even a little, a lot overhyped, just a little overhyped. And I have reasons for that. I have reasons for why I feel that way. But Caleb, like what you're saying, Caleb, there is a little bit of truth to that, because there's there's a weight that kind of looms over you. It's like, okay, like, people are going to be listening to this, we kind of have somewhat of an agenda, yada, yada, yada. But that's not the reason why the show feels a little overhyped. Rex may feel differently. That's how I feel. So, but that being said, I did like the show. I do like the show as a whole. I really do. Mikey, do you like the show?
Yeah, I just like Caleb. I love this show. I too watched it of my own fruition too, at my own pace. So, I actually watched this before Clone Wars, and before we ever even did our review on it, I watched it like at the beginning of last year or something like that, and I loved it.
Okay. Well, now everyone knows how we feel. Everyone knows how we all feel. There's a lot to get into. We have to talk about Ezra. We got to talk about Maul and Obi-Wan. We got to talk about Hera and Kanan. We got to talk about all these little details. We got to talk about Callus and Thrawn and all of these things that make the show what it is. So as I said before, the show in a nutshell, these last two seasons 3 and 4, is Ezra is, gallivanting around the galaxy with his space family, trying to get the rebellion together so that they can essentially, in the end game, take back Lothal. Now, that involves them coming into contact with Darth Maul via Sith holocron. That involves them kind of playing back and forth with Agent Callus, because Callus has decided that he doesn't want to be a part of the Empire anymore. So that plays into it. That involves Thrawn kind of being one step ahead of our heroes pretty much the entire show, which is pretty awesome to see on screen, actually. And that also involves, Kanan and Hera, their arc kind of developing even more. So I want to ask you guys, what is like your favorite moments? Because those are like the biggest things, I think. But like, what are like your personal standout moments where you're just like, oh my God, I thought that was awesome, yada yada. So what we'll do is we'll go and we'll say like, okay, like Caleb, you give yours. Then if that ends up being someone else's or one of their favorite moments, we'll just talk about it as a group. So go ahead, Caleb.
Well, you're gonna make me the jerk because I think I'm gonna take the really obvious one. Twin Sons is the best. It's incredible. That moment and kind of the build up. I mean, it's built up throughout like this entire season, but that moment of Obi-Wan versus Maul and everything that is, and how it's just very simply and pretty beautifully done. It's really, really good. Like it's a great moment for all of Star Wars. It's amazing.
Have you guys ever heard Dave Filoni talk about that scene?
Yeah.
You've never seen it, Rex? So basically, Dave Filoni literally breaks down that encounter, like beat for beat, and basically gives the resolution. It's like, well, why is Obi-Wan, like holding Maul in his arms, as he's dying, and yada, yada, yada. And the way that he explains it, literally, I'm like, Dave Filoni, will you just like be my dad? Because I just want to like go to you for like everything, literally, because you could probably make my wildest dreams come true for Star Wars. Like just the way, yeah, okay, yeah. Wait, the delay had Mikey like, what is the meaning of this? No, I love that moment too, Caleb. Mikey, do you want to piggyback off of that a little bit? Do you have anything like that you want to say about that before, I don't want to steamroll anybody, obviously, but what did you think of that moment?
I mean, it's for anybody who is a decent Star Wars fan, has watched any of Clone Wars. I mean, it's so fulfilling, that moment. And I heard some people say it was too fast, like it was too short of a moment, but I feel like that makes it even better, because it's like it wasn't not a big deal, but it was like, this is how it had to go.
Yeah.
Like I love, yeah. The first time I watched that, because I went through and basically this last watch through, I just watched like all the episodes. I just looked through all the lists and watched the ones that I knew there was something important in, because I know the story. But that one I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch that episode, because it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. What about you, Rex?
Yeah, I did feel like the scene was a little short, but
I knew you were gonna say that.
but I just thought it was crazy how like fast he took him out, you know?
Yeah.
It was just surprising.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm sorry, I'm actually not gonna stop you. Keep on going. Like, it was surprising that he took him out that fast. Like, elaborate on that for a minute, and then I got something for you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but you know, I'm only on season 4 of Attack of the Clones, so you know, I haven't seen the whole
Attack of the
resolution.
Clones. I haven't seen that.
He means the Clone Wars,
Clone Wars,
Mikey. Mikey's gonna be that guy. Okay, so Dave Filoni, he talks about this scene, beat for beat, and he basically says like, okay, when you first, whenever you first encounter Obi-Wan and Maul, they're together. It's the standoff. It's like, okay, like, have we been here before, right? So he starts off and he takes a stance. It's like young Obi-Wan stance. And it's like, okay, this is how I used to fight. This is how I, with the 2 fingers, he's like, this is how it used to be. And, Maul is kind of watching him, kind of taking it all. And then he thinks about it. He's like, no, I'm not that person anymore. Like, I'm more refined. Like, he switches his stance to what we see at the end of A New Hope, whenever Vader takes him down. And he's like, actually, I know what Maul's going to do. So then you see him take the stance of Qui-Gon. So at the end there, whenever he's basically baiting Maul into doing exactly what he did against Qui-Gon Jinn, because he knows exactly how to counteract that move. And that's why it takes place in the way that it does, because by this point, Obi-Wan is such a skilled swordsman and such a skilled Jedi. Like, he has Maul's number. He's been doing what, and I'm sure we'll see training. I'm sure we'll see training in the Obi-Wan show, but I mean, we have to think about, like, Maul's been kind of secluded for quite some time. He's not in the same headspace. He's just literally hell-bent on revenge. So it's 2 completely different circumstantial sides. It's literally, kind of like the yin and yang of this situation. And he talks about it, and he's like, at the same time, whenever he takes Maul out, he had his number. He still embraces Maul at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, because Obi-Wan and Maul were literally played the exact same hand by Palpatine. They were both pawns in Palpatine's ploy. Obi-Wan is a very instrumental part of that, as one of the head generals, one of the most formidable generals in, the Jedi Order at that time. And in that moment at the end, whenever Maul's like basically kind of realizing he's beat, he's kind of playing like literally the one little like good shred of emotion within Maul. He's like playing, I think he says something like, what, like avenge us or something like that. Or do you guys remember exactly what he says? Something along the lines of
he asks about the chosen one.
Yeah. That's right. He asks about the chosen one.
He says,
he
like,
realized
he's wondering who he's guarding.
Yeah, that's right. Just in that moment there, they have that moment of unity in that 1 second, because they've had literally the exact same journey, but on different paths of getting there. And that's powerful. Like, that's poetic, and Caleb, you're not a jerk for picking that one first, because I think for me, that hit me like that was my favorite part of the entire show, honestly, because it tied together everything that I loved about Star Wars already, tied it together while also giving me kind of a different perspective in terms of Maul and what Maul might have been feeling, because Maul has to go after Obi-Wan because he literally has nothing left. That's all he can do. He can't find contentment in anything else. He has to blame somebody else for the way that he's feeling and for his problems. That's what it boils down to. And, on the opposite end of that, Obi-Wan has everything to live for, because, the best chance of saving the galaxy is within arm's reach, basically. So I don't know. I love that scene. And if you ever want to go watch Dave Filoni talk about that, like, he'll say there's more to it than what I said, but just the way he delivers it, it's like he knows Star Wars, and just such an awesome moment. Caleb, you have anything to add to that?
Specific to that scene?
No, just in general, anything about it.
Oh, like anything, like any other moments that I liked in the series? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Twin Sun, like anything about Twin Suns, or just anything.
Oh, anything
general. Yeah.
No, I think I kind of already said it, but I think it's a really good payoff to Maul's journey, because we've gotten that basically. I mean, I know Rex isn't there yet in Clone Wars, but those last few episodes of season 7, where you have Maul, and you can see that he's on a journey himself of, trying to kind of make things right and kind of get back at the Emperor for what the Emperor had done to him and casting him aside, and also recognizing that things took a terrible turn, and that they, like, Maul kind of realized, spoiler alert, Rex, sorry, but Maul kind of realized before anybody else did that they were all pawns in this game, which is kind of amazing. And I think ultimately his ultimate goal not only was to get back at Obi-Wan, but it was kind of to avenge himself to the Emperor. And Obi-Wan was just kind of a step on his way there. So from his perspective, it's kind of tragic that he wasn't able to complete that quest of getting back at the Emperor. But Obi-Wan was kind of, in his way there. It's really, really interesting. I love kind of like looking at things from Maul's perception, because he's kind of, he's more of a grayish character in the end, as instead of just purely evil one. The other thing, you were kind of talking about it too, with like Obi-Wan fighting Maul and kind of all those decisions and him switching between different forms. I think that little lightsaber battle does so much in just showing how much actually goes into a lightsaber battle that we don't normally see. Because not only are they just swinging sticks at each other, but there's, the whole mental side of it too, with the Force, and they're battling each other kind of with the Force, and, anticipating what's coming and all of this different stuff. And it's a total, not only a physical battle, but a mental one too, between those two people. And this little, battle does a really good job of demonstrating that. Obviously, it wouldn't be possible with all of the lightsaber battles that came before it, but it does a really good job of just demonstrating that mental side of it too, because you don't necessarily always get that with all of the other lightsaber battles. It does kind of just come down to two guys swinging sticks at each other, and this is much more than that, which is really cool.
I really feel like, you can tell that Filoni is a fan of the books, because if you read any of the old expanded universe stuff, they very much kind of go into detail about lightsaber battles in general, and how much it is a mental fortitude thing, for the most part. That's like the first and foremost thing about it, is what it should be. So yeah, no, that's I totally agree with that. Mikey, what did you appreciate about Twin Suns, that whole arc in general?
Well, it actually just popped in my head while Caleb was talking about like how like shoot, his name just left my mind. Not Palpatine, the red guy.
Maul?
Maul. How Maul was trying to get back at Palpatine, and that actually just clicked in my mind. That's why he asked about the Chosen One right before he died, because he knew that was the only way that he would be able to get back at him, is if he knew that there was definitely somebody that will take him down, which that makes so much more sense to me now, because it made sense in my mind why he was asking Obi-Wan, because he wouldn't know what he was doing there. But that makes even more sense, because it kind of fulfilled his journey in a way with that simple question, which is pretty cool. But not much else. I think Caleb really touched on most of it that I enjoyed, at least, and remembered.
It's kind of crazy to think that, like, Maul as a whole, like his entire journey, I wish we had the Maul we get in the show. I wish we had that in the Phantom Menace, because it feels like two completely different people, and sometimes it's kind of hard to connect them for me.
Yeah,
Because Maul has a lot of dialogue in these shows, and like had a big part to play, and like I really like that, and I don't know. I just kind of wish. I'm kind of sad that Maul's gone. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Rex.
I agree. I feel like in the movie, he feels like a totally different person. Like, to me, that it's just completely separate. And I don't know. It'd be cool to see him before he goes all crazy.
Go ahead.
I just think that it's the difference is between a disciplined Maul and a Maul that's not disciplined and is just letting his anger and revenge kind of go without anybody to reel it in. Because in the Phantom Menace, he's an apprentice. He has to answer to Sidious, and he can't just let his anger go uncontrolled to a certain descent or extent. Like he has to have it kind of controlled and reeled in to be a useful tool for Sidious in that situation. So it does feel like a different character, but I mean, I know that if I got my bottom half of my body chopped off and I fell and wound up eventually in a dump being stitched back together, um, that would, he's like, when you find him again, when we see him again in Clone Wars, he's like a totally different, just mental wreck of a person. And it kind of, it's not that difficult to kind of make that connection that, man, he just, you're taking a Sith that already is feeding into that hatred, but now he's outside of the structure of the Sith, and that's just going completely to the extreme of everything. And now he's letting revenge and all of this animosity build up, and then you're getting this kind of crazy character. And I really like his arc both through the Clone Wars and through this, because you see how much all of his ups and downs, because yeah, he's very different than he was in Phantom Menace, but that's because so much has changed for him over that period of time.
You said something too, like there's different people, and I don't know if you had said that he was less focused or something like that, but we think about Maul was stripped from his clan, right? The Night Sisters, or that whole thing. Like he was chosen basically, right? So yeah, you have already a feeling of isolation, being stripped away from your clan. Then you got this Sith Lord telling you you're the greatest thing ever, and you're going to help him, take over the galaxy. You're going to be the one to be at his side, yada yada yada. Like, you are my tool for destruction. You think about him kind of having that mental fortitude we talked about, and like, because that really is what got him so far, as we saw in the Clone Wars. The strategy, like the mental fortitude to like make the right moves. And obviously, Savage is kind of what pulled him out of the dark depths and things like that. But he had the talent, right? He had the talent to be a super duper powerful ally to Sidious, and really be a tool. And to his knowledge, Sidious very well may have been telling him, like, no, like, you're the one, man. Like, you're going to be the one to like help me take over the galaxy, yada yada yada. So whenever he goes into that fight with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, he is literally laser focused. So to be defeated after that, literally all of, taking the other thing into consideration of like, he has nothing, literally nothing. And Sidious is probably the only positivity, quote unquote. Go ahead.
Not only was he defeated, but he was defeated by a Padawan after he killed that Padawan's master.
Yes.
Like, how humiliating.
Very.
To get killed by a Padawan.
And, it would make so much sense that it would end for him, kind of, because right at that moment, whenever he gets chopped in half, that's almost kind of like the rebirth of Maul in a way. Like the Maul we knew, he's a different man. You know what I mean? He's half the man he used to be. You know what I mean? After he gets, killed by, or, chopped in half by Obi-Wan. But just his whole story makes so much sense, and at the same time kind of offers us like a really satisfying character arc. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, like that character's really been through it. And honestly, he died a good death. Like, he died at the hands of Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was like kind. You know what I mean? Like, I think even Obi-Wan tries to say something like, there's still time. You don't have to do this. I think he says something like that, if I'm not mistaken. He's like, you don't have to do this. You know what I mean? So, R.I.P. Maul. Good character arc.
Makes you like Obi-Wan even more, though, I feel like.
Oh, totally. Like
I can't wait to see more of him in a movie or it's a show, right? Show.
Yeah, it's a show. Yeah, for sure. Caleb, we might come back to you, but Mikey, like, what was your like favorite moment out of the show? Or these last 2 seasons, rather.
Well, Caleb took the low-hanging fruit, so no, I'm kidding.
You know me.
To be honest, I mean, Kanan's death, like watching it a second time, like knowing what's going to happen, he's basically saying goodbye that entire episode. And it's actually pretty subtle, which is kind of interesting because he's not, it's weird, but just that moment, I actually I like that moment, but I'm also, it's kind of makes me curious because is he not blind at the last second? Because like his eyes clear up, but why? It doesn't say, like nobody explains that
because he's a G.
I mean, I like that moment. It's like, but it's at the same time.
To be fair, it wasn't like he was a bumbling idiot the entire show. Like he was super force adept and kind of had like a daredevil thing going on, right? Where he could kind of see his surroundings. So, we've seen the force heal wounds and we've seen the force like bring people back from the dead. Is it so crazy to think that, a force adept person could in his last moments bring his sight back? I don't think it's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy. It's a cool moment, but when I think about it, I'm like, did they really need to do that? I don't know. It was, I'm battling myself at that point because I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, why though? I don't know. It's weird, but I really like that moment and just that whole episode's pretty cool, especially like the gliders and stuff, and they're just going super stealth. I love that, but I don't know. That's just a really good, and how they call back to it once he goes into like that portal, and that's a really cool episode too. But just that moment alone, I think is a really good moment for all the characters in the show because that's like the first like big loss that they all feel, and you're like, whoa, it's getting serious.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that episode in that moment.
Rex,
Just wanted to touch on that because I feel like the show kind of needed some more stuff like that to happen and like some more just gripping emotion that you don't get in the other seasons really, to me. And I really liked that episode too. And Kanan's like he's such an edgelord, right, with his haircut.
Yeah.
His last name's Doom.
Yeah. He looks like he should be working at a barista or something.
Yeah, but that episode is really good. I like that one too.
Yeah.
I have an unpopular opinion, and we can talk about it. I thought that his death meant a lot. It was cool. Like, I'm not happy that he died, obviously, but it served its purpose. It served its purpose. I felt the moment. It was great. Whatever. These last two seasons, I did not feel connected to Kanan at all. Like, at all. Like, I could not connect with him the same way. Like for Ezra, he was super relatable. I was like, oh yeah, this kid's kind of a geek, he's kind of a dweeb, and he's kind of coming into his own as like a solid Jedi. He's like developing these skills, and he's a respectable Jedi by the end of the show. That's great. I don't know, man. I had a hard time. Am I alone here? If I am alone, I'll shut up. But like, how did everyone else feel about Kanan?
I feel, I think he's probably one of the coolest characters in the show, personally, because I mean, he was there during Order 66, and he had to go in hiding, and then totally put away being a Jedi, like that, and then it just shows you him finally coming into it, and at the very last second, you see how powerful of a Jedi he actually was the whole time. And then like it's over. I think that's really that's kind of like Obi-Wan in a way where except he was powerful the whole time. But I mean, at the last second of his life, it's kind of a theme with Jedi. And I think it was really well done with his character, and I really enjoyed it. And like how he's conflicted. It's not like he didn't want to put away being a Jedi. He wanted to, like at the beginning, and how he didn't care. He didn't want to be a Jedi anymore. But then
Kinda
he's like,
closed himself off.
Oh wait, this is what I meant to do. Like I think I really like that. But yeah, it's interesting that you don't.
I'm not discrediting that. I think that's fine, and I'm not. There's no like other instance where I'm like, oh, and I'm not saying I hate it or anything like that. I feel nothing. Like, I just feel like, okay.
Is it because it's overplayed? Maybe a little bit.
I think so. And here's the thing too. It's like
That's Star Wars.
the Order 66 thing, like, oh, he
Yeah.
was there, and it's like, so I played Jedi Fallen Order, and it's like, okay, so all that stuff happened to Cal, right? So I think maybe that had kind of like, I don't know, like that didn't mean as much to me because I feel like we've seen that so many times already, and so I don't know, like I like he would do cool things, and like the fact that he was so aware of his surroundings and could do the things that he could do with the Force, like we've never seen a Jedi do any of that before. So like that was cool. I'm not saying that the things that he did weren't cool, like, because they were for sure. I just think like after he loses his sight, like I just kind of disconnected with him, and I just couldn't really. I just couldn't. I couldn't empathize with him, anymore, because it's like, I don't know. Call me crazy, and I'm not saying it. It's not like I loved his arc, and I like I said, I think his death served its purpose. I felt the thing, that was, it's like, oh, like that sucks, but it was more for the thing of like, oh wow, like Hera's heartbroken now. What is the team gonna do? Like their fearless leader, like, is gone now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. In that moment, he's just kind of felt not the same since the first two seasons for me, and that's just my opinion. I don't side one way or the other. I'm kind of like right in the middle. Caleb, you were doing a lot of nodding. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that Kanan's arc is actually, like, throughout the entire show is actually pretty realistic and is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Basically because you kind of see him in the beginning of Rebels where he's, this Jedi, but he's not really, wanting to be that, and he's not really comfortable with it, and he's hiding it. And, him having Ezra kind of as a de facto Padawan and him kind of accepting that responsibility is not only as, training Padawan, but it's also training him. And by the end of season 2, where, they have the battle with Maul and Maul blinds him, like, Kanan was kind of at his peak and he was on the up and up, like basically through the whole first 2 seasons. And then he gets blinded and it's a major setback, a major stumble. And now Kanan has to recover from it. And it's really kind of a cool little arc because he has like this major adversity that is super, super difficult for him to get through. And I think that's relatable to a lot of people that, where they've been in a tough place and they've started climbing up out of that hole and then they slip and they stumble and they fall. But then they have to get up again and then start all over and deal with the consequences of whatever had caused them to fall. But, I think it's kind of relatable in that way because it showed it wasn't like your normal arc where you're just constantly working to improve and nothing bad happens. It's like this terrible thing happened to him and he still had to dig himself up from potentially an even lower place than when we had found him. And I thought that was really cool that they did that. And I like Kanan's character a lot. He's a really cool character that, I wish we had gotten more time with, but his death, I thought it was really appropriate, really self-sacrificing. It was really meaningful.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's all good stuff. I appreciate you, going into that. And I agree, like, in terms of he's lower than when we found him. I think that's 100% true. But I think his mental, again, it's kind of like dueling Maul a little bit. Like, in a way, it's the same thing that happened to Maul. But, like, he had the mental fortitude to like ground himself and be like, okay, how can I get better? How can I, move on from here? Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah, I feel like that's everything that Caleb just said. He's probably the most realistic character in the show, like what he was saying, because people always say people don't change. I don't think that's true. People do change, like they mature, and based off what experiences and or what like what good or bad things have happened to them. He's so he reminds me of Obi-Wan, to be honest, in that last bit of his life, because he's like, he knows what he's doing, so he doesn't have to be all like kind of. He reminds me of Nathan Drake from Uncharted at the beginning of this show, where he's just like, ha, like he's pretty happy with what he's doing because he's just shut off that part of his life. But as soon as it comes back, and he's like, okay. And then he completely changes that character. And I love that character development. I think it's, I forget who says this, but he's like, he's become I forget what episode it was, but they're talking about him like becoming a Jedi and like he's acting like a Jedi because he is a Jedi at the end, you know? And I think that's why he has such a character change. And maybe that's your problem with him, because he is completely different, like at the very end. But I think it's a good thing personally.
And he ends up getting knighted at some
Yeah.
point. Yeah, too, which is like a huge thing for him, because that's the thing too, is when Order 66 struck, he was a kid.
Yeah. He
And
never became a master.
Yeah, he never became a knight or a master. He was still just a Padawan. So he got knighted basically just on his own, like by his own training and everything, which is like an incredibly cool little arc that he was able to do it. He was able to make all of that progress by himself and do it, which is, I thought was really cool too.
Yeah.
I feel like this character reminded me more of Anakin than anybody. But what if Anakin had actually made good decisions? First of all, like he sounds a lot like Anakin from Clone Wars. Like they sound a lot alike. And just like kind of like what you were saying, Mikey, like kind of like that hot-headed behavior in the beginning of the show, like totally like kind of like the Jedi thing of, okay, we're gonna get in there and take care of business, you know, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And then kind of reforming, you know, after that, and then having more signs of maturity and things like that. That's fine. You know, I think it was kind of that thing like what you were saying, Mikey. It's like, oh, well, it's Star Wars. Yeah. I had a hard time. I was more interested in the other things going on in the show than I was Kanan's arc. But I understand. I see. It's one of those things like I can see the value there, and I could see how for a lot of people it would mean a lot. But for me, I just could not tap into it. You know, so you know it's unfortunate. But I was still sad when he died. You know, I was like, God, that freaking sucks. And here's another thing too. We're gonna keep on talking about good stuff. This is one thing that kind of made me maybe feel out of touch with Kanan a little bit. Was the whole wolf thing, like the whole Doom, you know, Force Wolf arc, you know, and I get it, like they're in tune with the Force, but I was thinking about this. It's like I wish there was more left unknown about the Force. Like I wish they would stop trying to throw in elements and stop trying to explain things and just let it be ambiguous in the way of like, well, what is the Force, you know, and like what does it do? It's like it surrounds all living things. Okay, cool. It's a, you know, it's a force that whatever, you know, and the idea of it. And I think like him being directly connected, I think I had more questions after realizing this. Okay, well, what does it have to do with him being connected to the wolves? You know what I mean? Like, did I miss something? Did they ever explain that? Or can someone help me here?
I think it's kind of like the owl that always follows Ahsoka around, like the daughter, like the light side, the daughter of the Force, kind of. How like it just depends on who it is and when like stuff happens to them. Like he died while they were interacting with those, and they thought that they used him to like guide him, and how that owl with Ahsoka too kind of guides her in a way. I feel like that's what they were trying to play off with that, because they blatantly put the owl in the show too. So
yeah,
that's where I think they were coming from.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, and mine is kind of a bigger theory, with maybe it might just be totally off base, but me just kind of thinking about it is like, we know the wolves are kind of in tune with the Force, and you know, we know the whole thing with Star Wars is trying to bring back balance to the Force. In order to do that, you need the Emperor to be defeated in the end. I don't think that the battle or the war between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire goes or ends with the Rebel Alliance winning if Thrawn is not out of the picture. So Thrawn needs to be defeated. And all of the events that lead up to Thrawn basically being defeated at the end of Rebels, you know, everything that goes into that needed to happen for a reason. And I think Kanan was having that realization at the end, right before he sacrificed himself, that he was going to have to make a sacrifice so that Thrawn would be defeated. And I think then Ezra recognized that he needed to do the same thing so that Thrawn would be defeated. And that kind of goes in line with like what I'm reading in the books about Thrawn. Like Thrawn is just so much farther and more intelligent than anybody else in the Empire. And he recognized too that if the Empire had a decision of how they were going to use their resources to basically control the galaxy. They were either going to rule by fear by having a Death Star, or they were going to have a better advantage. Thrawn's whole thing is the TIE Defenders. He wants to have TIE Defenders because he recognizes that's a better way of controlling the galaxy and having a strong navy. He recognized that just having a Death Star isn't enough. And Thrawn was really close to getting his way, but he ended up not getting his way. And the TIE Defender project ends up basically, completely exploding because the rebels win on Lothal and Thrawn gets defeated. And because of that, that opens the door for the rest of the Rebel Alliance to be able to just focus on the Death Star. They don't have to deal with it. And it ends with the Empire getting defeated. And I think that like the Wolves and anything else that's in tune with the Force, or even like, could be Bendu or whatever, recognizing that big picture of like, if we're going to get there, we're going to have to help these ones play their part in this huge puzzle of a thing so that this specific thing can go that way. And it's going to end up way down the line, resulting in balance to the Force being restored. I know that's super big picture, but I think that's kind of where I'm at with
that
it.
Makes sense. See, that makes sense to me. Like the idea of like the Force being some sort of omnipotent force that surrounds the entire galaxy, and the Jedi and the Sith are not the ones that it's meant for to be used. It's just a thing that's there. That's great because the conflict between the Jedi and the Sith makes complete sense because it's like, of course you guys are fighting because you're using this thing that does not belong to you for your own selfish reasons at the end of the day. The Sith think that what the Jedi doing is wrong. What the Jedi think the Sith are doing is wrong. Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing with the whales. The whales at the end of the show, like that, they're obviously communicating with like they wouldn't just show up and be like, all right, let's just teleport a random ship and grab this one guy. Like they're like it. I love what they did with like animals. Like it totally shows that it is for everything and not just for one or two people or even a group of people. Like, and that's going to play so well into upcoming stuff. Cause I'm just super excited to see what they do in the future. If they do end up connecting this show, which it seems like they will, but
Ahsoka is literally going to be the sequel to Rebels. Like, I think,
I want to see more of that with animals, to be honest. I think that's really cool. Like, because instead of being just a bunch of people fighting you, you have to worry about everybody if you're going against the Force and like causing a disturbance, because then everything be like, what? It's like kind of oh man, I forgot what movie it is. Like this guy, it's like I'm trying to make a reference that I don't remember.
You have derailed.
Yeah.
Aquaman?
Like when it's okay, I don't know the movie, don't remember what scene, but like a guy's eating at a restaurant and he's like, yeah, you're not supposed to be here, and like everybody at the restaurants look at him and like stops what they're doing and then just continues like nothing's going on.
Oh, Inception?
Maybe, yeah. Like exactly. But like that will be what the Force is to somebody who's doing something wrong, like the Sith or the Jedi, like going against what it's meant for. Like I think that would be really interesting to have everything, including animals and people. Like that'd be cool. But anyways, sorry, I digress.
No, you're fine. And Rex, I want to get to you in a second. And I'm glad Caleb shared that because Caleb's reading the books. And to me, and this is honestly, this is where my biggest critique of Star Wars comes in is don't make us have to consume everything to get the full picture. It's like, oh, you didn't get that? You didn't play Jedi Fallen? It's like, I don't want to freaking play Jedi Fallen Order right now. Like, it doesn't interest me. I'm not into it. I don't want to be forced to play it to get the story. So, like, that's my biggest thing right now. Because like as watching the show, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to think about it. And it's like, okay, I get how like, the wildlife side like kind of plays into the Force, but there's no concrete meaning within the show. And whenever you have to go to somewhere else to get a resolution to the thing that is directly present, that is bad. That isn't. I wish Ryan was here because he would say like, it's probably not good, And I'm just the wannabe, right? But just in that moment, and now, having Caleb explain it, that's great. That makes total sense, and that's probably the case, right? So go ahead, Caleb.
I will say this. I mean, I don't think that you have to read the books necessarily to get the point that Thrawn is a mastermind and that the TIE Defenders are very important to what the Empire is going to do, because they really hit that like are nailing that in seasons 3 and 4 of Rebels. Like they go through that quite a bit. It's just kind of reinforced in the books even more so because it brings in a whole political dynamic that's more detailed and more adult than it is in this show that's made for children. But I think that you can still get that sense just from watching this. And I'll also say that when you have a universe in a world that is as big as Star Wars, it's going to be really difficult, like in being picky in what you read. And then like when you don't get the answer to a specific question that you ask, and then just being, I don't know, it's really tough to write it in a way to where you don't have to where you're like, well, I could find the answer over here. I could find the answer over here. It's really weird to just stay within one little part of that and feel like content. That's kind of the problem with Star Wars. Like, and you can do it. It's just like, if you're going to get more detailed about like your analysis of it and really diving into the world more, it's like that kind of almost requires that you open up a book or a comic or play an extra video game or watch an extra series to get some of those questions answered, because you're wanting more information than what that one, medium is telling you.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like that's fine whenever you have to do that. I'm just saying it's hard to make that transition. I think whenever traditionally we had X amount of content to talk about, and even within that amount of content, there was only so many different avenues that you could go, where it's like, okay, these are the grander schemes, this is the bigger picture, yada, yada, yada. When you start adding more elements and adding more characters and then adding more elements to the idea of what the Force is, we have all these different things coming at us from all these different directions. It can be, it's more of a frustration of I don't have time to keep up, and that's the hard thing. So it's, as a Star Wars fan watching it, it's like, okay, I want to know what this means, but then I also wear the hat of, okay, what is your, what's a kid going to think of this? Like, what is a kid going to be thinking about these bigger themes and like what this means? And I mean, if a child can piece it together, then I must be pretty stupid, because to me, I just, go ahead, Rex.
That's one thing I kind of don't like about it, is like that good stuff is hidden in this whole season, and a lot of these seasons I didn't care about a lot of the episodes except for those key moments. And that's kind of like my whole problem with the whole Rebels in general, is like I don't care about most of the episodes. And maybe that's because I'm not really drawn to the characters, or I'm not like relating with the characters. And whereas with Clone Wars, like, I like Anakin and Obi-Wan already, so it already has that going for it. So I don't know.
Man, I'm the complete opposite. I love Anakin and Obi-Wan. I did not care about their characters in Clone Wars at all. Like, that was my biggest problem with that show. But that's interesting, the difference.
Yeah, and that's why we have 4 people on this podcast, so we can bring different ideas to the table and talk about it. And it's never a thing of, and it's never a thing of like, oh, I feel this way, you're wrong. It's not like that's an interesting take. I didn't think about it that way, and that's literally what we're all bringing to the table. Go ahead, Rex.
Yeah, I just mean like I didn't connect with the characters very well. I think even from the beginning, and I think that's probably why I don't like really love this show. I like it, and it has like things that I want to know and learn about. And obviously I love Thrawn. I think he's one of the biggest things that I like about this show. And my favorite, one of my favorite parts is the last episode when they have all the Imperials. Ezra has them all, or they have them all like captured or whatever. And Thrawn kind of just like turns the tables on them, and he's like, oh, he kind of shows like how it kind of shows like that evil side of Thrawn, where he's willing to do anything to get his purpose, and he just starts bombing the city. And I thought that was a really good moment. And besides the other ones that Caleb and Mikey touched on.
The thing, and I'm going to piggyback off of you, Rex, too, because I think it was your turn to talk about what your favorite part was anyways. Like, Thrawn in this show, to me, is exactly how Thrawn was in the Timothy Zahn books, but they did a better job of simplifying it in the show. and I'm talking about like the original Thrawn trilogy, not the new Thrawn trilogy, because in the original Thrawn trilogy, which started the expanded universe of Star Wars novelization, Thrawn is literally the thing that resurrects like the would-be empire. Like he has all of these ideas set out in place, and Caleb totally hit it on the head. Like way more intelligent than pretty much everybody, within the empire, and probably, I mean, you'd think that he had some force ability, with the way he could think about things and the way he could plan things, and in general. Caleb, are you frozen? Oh, you looked like you were frozen. I was like, good God. Go ahead, Rex.
I have a bunch or a little bit to say about that too. For one, seeing Rebels and what Thrawn is doing in this has kind of made me appreciate a bit of what he's doing in the novels a bit more, because I'm still on the second book, but even the first one kind of shows like what Thrawn is doing, like what his whole goal and purpose is. And so I really like that. And I also liked that they touched on, the old Timothy Zahn Thrawn, and they even showed like, that what's the gray guy that kind of like attacks them?
Rook.
Isn't he based on the old trilogy Thrawn, where they have those gray creatures? They don't really talk too much.
They're like a greenish gray reptilian, and they totally botched Rook in this show, just saying. But anyways.
Yeah, but is he like based off of those?
Yeah. Well, he's supposed to be, they use the same name and like the same idea. Like he's like kind of Thrawn's right-hand man, assassin, like go-getter type thing. Kind of like Thrawn's Darth Vader of sorts. It's kind of what Rook was.
Yeah, I never finished those original trilogies, but I remember those guys, and also the like reptile like thingies. You see the statue of them at the end, I think, or in one of the last episodes. Like, the reptiles in the trilogy,
like snake things.
The old trilogy has like two statues of these like chameleon looking things.
Yeah.
And I think they're in the old Thrawn trilogy too, where they're like, they cancel out the force. They're like these creatures that cancel out the force.
Yeah.
I like that they touched on the old Thrawn and kind of brought a lot of aspects from those, before Disney canceled them.
I know that, their appearance shows up. I don't know if that's what it's actually supposed to be, like in reference to, but like even on the bottom of Thrawn Star Destroyer, the Chimera, it has like that like design on it, which is super, super cool. It's such a cool little touch.
Yeah.
But
it is a throwback to that. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could get into a whole like rant about that, so I'm not going to, but
whole nother podcast,
whole other discussion. Thrawn is awesome in this show for sure. Mm-hmm. And like they could have done like he got a ton of screen time, which was awesome. And they could have done so much more, like touched on it so much more, but they were going to write novels about it, and do that thing. So if you want more of that, there's novels there, but yeah, it's awesome. Go ahead, Rex.
And you get the thing, like he never really loses, even though he like loses at the end of this. But obviously we know that he didn't really lose, like, Yeah,
that's one of the things I was going to note on too, is that both times that Thrawn kind of gets his comeuppance, it's because of something in the Force that he did not have any control over, whether it was the Purrgil at the end or the Bendu at the end of season 3. Like both of those times, like Thrawn had executed everything basically perfectly and was getting his way, and then just like some out of the blue crazy thing happened and it ruined everything, which is
the whales,
a really cool testament to his character.
Like the whales show up and he's like he's straight faced, but he's like, I'm not going to show any emotion. Like he's probably like, oh my God, like
whales, really?
Yeah, literally. Mm-hmm. Space whales, the flip.
Yeah, never gets pissed.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't show any emotion. That was one of the things too. Like whenever he was fighting the Death Troopers, right, and like just doing like hand to hand with them, I was like, God, he's just such a freaking cool character. So cool. I love Thrawn, and I'm glad you brought up that that moment.
And He doesn't even have like a ton of combat training, but he has some. I think that the books talk about when he's like training and stuff. So he
Yeah, I think it's like the first. I think isn't there one before the trilogy actually starts that explains like where he came from? I think that's the one I've read.
Yeah, I've read that one.
It's
really
pretty
good.
interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
My favorite moment was the same as Caleb's, twin sons.
Hmm.
I think that's the obvious one. It's my favorite part of the entire show. There were some pretty cool moments though. Like for instance, the whole Mandalorian war, that
Yep.
was super duper cool. It's kind of cool to see Sabine kind of come into her own as a warrior, even more so. Cool to see Bo-Katan. It was nice to see Hera. I really like Hera. Like, I don't know. Like, I like her character. I
Like
thought
her.
she was cool. I thought it was super cool that her and Kanan were kind of always, it was kind of like a Firefly type situation. It kind of felt Firefly-esque to me. And I kind of liked they kind of danced around that, pretty much the entire show.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mikey.
Their relationship always confused me because I didn't realize like the first time I watched it that they weren't actually together until like the last season. I was like, wait, I thought you guys were actually like together this whole time because he wasn't a Jedi. So I figured, but then they're like, I love you. I was like, wait, huh? But
Yeah.
it was, yeah, she's a really cool character.
Yeah. I like
that like
They
right
could-
before he dies.
They could easily put her in the Mandalorian, like so
for
easily.
sure. Especially like, she has a kid, like she has Kanan's kid.
Yeah,
like there's a story to explore with that. I thought they set the end up really nice and open, for what's to come in the future, especially like for Sabine and Ahsoka are gonna be on the hunt for, Ahsoka wants to get in touch with Thrawn and Sabine wants to get in touch with Ezra. So what else is the show going to be about? I don't, I can't see it being anything else other than that. I felt like there was another thing too. There were some things that I wasn't crazy about in these last two seasons, and we'll get to that in a minute. And we'll kind of get to our negatives before we wrap this up and score this. But overall, there was a lot of cool things that happened. The Mandalorian War, everything with Ezra's entire journey. Ezra is a super cool character. Like just kind of seeing him from the beginning, kind of come into his own and like having to struggle with like kind of the dark side tendencies and, the whole thing with his parents and then the portal, like whenever he pulls Ahsoka out and that totally answers the question as to like, well, what happened in the fight between Vader and Ahsoka? Like, oh, because Ezra literally pulled her through a time warp and, Vader's like, what is going on? Like he just walks away, it makes total sense at that point because they set it up in such a way. There's a lot of cool things that happen in these last two seasons, and I like how, like, and one thing in particular, the thing, everything with the Darksaber. The Darksaber holds such a gravitas in general, and we know what the story is behind it, but yet they didn't have to make as big of a deal with it in this show. I mean, it was still a big deal, but they didn't make as big of a deal with it in this show because we'd already seen that in the last series, which was awesome. I did think it was interesting, though. They made a big deal at the end of Mando about how, Mando couldn't give her the Darksaber, but Sabine literally gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber, in this show. So that, that theory can get tossed out the door. You know what I mean?
Minor, I feel like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a big deal, but whatever. Anyways, really cool moments. Now, as far as things that we weren't crazy about, do we have any? First of all, Caleb, I want to throw it to you.
My biggest thing, and probably the only thing I'll mention, is just I wish we had seen more of kind of like a resolution with Vader at the end of this, because we get that the end of season 2, like where Vader's walking out of the destroyed Sith temple, and then we never really see him again. I mean, we see him in season 4, but it's flashing back to that battle between him and Ahsoka, and then like we're supposed to just kind of believe. I mean, in the books, Vader meets up with Thrawn immediately after the events in season 3. And him and Vader and Thrawn go on a whole like adventure together in between seasons 3 and 4 of Rebels. I wish that we had gotten Vader, because I mean, it's kind of weird that Vader would just allow 2 Jedi to just roam around and just keep doing all this stuff and not pay them any mind when he still does have Inquisitors, and that's supposed to be Vader's mission, is hunting down all of those Jedi. It's just weird not to get any more of him and not to kind of get any more payoff with him. That's my only real complaint.
I think too, you kind of see the Emperor's wisdom, because he probably sensed that Vader was going to try and overthrow him at some point. So it would have made a lot of sense for him to actually be utilizing Thrawn's abilities and being like, okay, Vader may not be a problem, but Thrawn is like super duper loyal to me. And there's potential for me to get another jet. Go ahead, Caleb.
Well, another thing, the Thrawn's loyalty is constantly in question. And again, this is just totally probably not, it's not something that's in Rebels at all, but Thrawn's loyalty to the Empire is constantly in question.
Really?
So
in the books?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Thought you read that trilogy, Gabe.
I read the first one, the first trilogy.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
he's totally not that way in those books. He's like, no, but
it's not on Thrawn. It's everybody else thinks that like he's not loyal, but his loyalty is constantly in question. It's not that he's not actually disloyal.
Gotcha. So it's like the perception that he might be not quite what he seems.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, you wanted more Vader. That was like the only thing that you were missing.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's the only real complaint I have with this. I mean, it's a kids show and there's going to be filler in there from time to time, but again, I mean, I still can have fun with filler episodes, and that's how like all TV works, other than like that top like 1% of like really, really, really good television. Like, I mean, that's kind of what TV is, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Well said. Mikey?
Story-wise, I mean, not a whole lot really bugged me too much. I mean, you know what really bugged me? What the heck happened to Ezra's hair? That is the worst haircut I've ever seen on a human being ever. Even in anime, it's so bad.
Like a buzz.
It doesn't. I thought it was a buzz, but it doesn't look like a buzz because it looks like a Ken doll where you can't see any scalp. So I didn't know if it was like slicked really hard or buzzed. I didn't like it. Every time I saw his character in these last couple seasons, I was like, dude, what? Why? What is up with your head? It looks like Sputnik.
You're just trying to be different, Mikey.
Yeah, I don't know.
Haircut at the end is hilarious.
Whose haircut?
Kanan's haircut at the end is just hilarious.
Dude, I was like, I was so mad about that. Honestly, I was like,
Really?
You look like an idiot. And if I'm saying that, it's like
they explain why.
He's blind.
No,
he did it himself.
Like why he cuts his hair.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
Was that it for you, Mikey?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really coming off the top of my head like that. I just hated
just his hair.
Ezra's haircut.
Just hated his hair.
I hated his hair. I hated it. Dude, this does probably have like a couple of my favorite lightsabers in this show, though. Like Ezra's green lightsaber. I love how they did like kind of a nod to the original films where it's like super skinny. Because they used that reflective tape on the original film, so it looked like a really thin piece of like. I love that his lightsaber looked like that. That was so cool. Like all I can think of is like good things. I can't really nothing jumps out to me as bad things in the show really. Maybe the whale thing at the end. That was a bit much.
The whale and Bendu. I didn't like Bendu.
I liked Bendu. The whales were the very last second of the whales was cool, but everything else I was like, really? Okay. It's still cool, but
I would have much rather had it be like, I mean, I guess it would have meant less. I mean, I understand, like Bendu's like the guardian of Lothal or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like it's a kid's show, it's hard to like knock it too much.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for it. I would have rather had it been like, okay, there can be a guardian of the planet, make it a Jedi, like throw a twist in there, like, give us a Jedi or something like that. But I guess, we want to make it something
I think
different.
making an animal was the twist. Kinda.
Yeah. Well, I meant
You know
like
that's voiced by one of the original Doctors, right?
Doctor
Like
Who.
Doctor Who. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not a Whovian, so I wouldn't know that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been kind of crazy to like, what if one of the Inquisitors? And I guess one thing I did like about something they did in the show is like whenever one of the like the Grand Inquisitors fighting Kanan, you know, in his
Mhm.
vision or whatever, like that was cool. It would have been kind of cool to see, like maybe a Jedi that we know be like a guardian of Lothal or something like that. Like maybe, you know, I don't know. I just didn't like Bendu. Literally could have done anything else with Bendu and I would have been happy, you know. But anyways, Rex, was there anything that you just didn't really care for about the show?
I mean, I think I already kind of said what I didn't like and touched on that. But yeah, just I think my main issue was just not being able to get into it and really connect with the characters. And I think maybe if I saw this when I was younger, I think I probably would have liked it more, just with it being a kid's show and everything like that. But I don't think there's a ton of negatives story-wise, and what they did with the story, I think that's all great and it's all good. But yeah, it's a little hard to get past some of the filler. But again, that's a lot of shows. So
Yeah, well said, Mikey.
Something that I just thought of. It's kind of an Ethan thing, but the ghost ship design, I did not like that at all. It never looked right, you know? Like
Yeah.
you kind of looked at it and you're like, that doesn't look like a ship. That doesn't like it's kind of like the Millennium Falcon thing. Like I like the Millennium Falcon and it's an iconic, but it doesn't really look like a ship. Like that's the same kind of feeling I got with the Ghost, where I was like, that doesn't look like it should be that agile, you know?
Go ahead, Rex.
I think Caleb was first. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's supposed to be a cross between the Millennium Falcon and the Firefly.
Yeah.
It's literally what it is.
Yeah.
I liked that it had a lot of utility to it.
Mhm.
It was very versatile, and I think that's what they were going for. But yeah, it didn't look the best.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I just didn't care, honestly. Very little. Could have cared less. I didn't even think about the ship design. Honestly, I was like, oh, the ship, cool, like whatever.
Really, I liked that. I liked the show.
Yeah, but I don't really think about like. I mean, I don't know. Like if it works, it works. You know what I mean? But that's funny. If Ethan listens to this, he's probably gonna get a good laugh at that. He'll probably text you about it because you guys you're all a part of his podcast. You're gonna leave the Wannabe Critic podcast and go be on Age of Geek because it's so much better over there. Yeah, whatever. No, you better not ever leave me, Mikey. I'll kill you. No, I won't. I really won't. Actually, if you did, that'd be kind of cool. If you did, but because then we could get someone else. No, I'm just kidding. There were not really a ton of things that there were like little nitpicky things like Bendu, whatever. Couple of other things. One of the biggest things for me is why is every time we see Saw Gerrera, why was he just like a psychopath the entire time?
It's his character, dude.
Is he like that in Rogue One? Did I miss something?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's an extremist, man.
He's just old then. He can't do what he used to.
Man,
But yeah, he's a total extremist.
I just totally missed that. You know what I mean? Like, and that just goes to show how much I paid attention in Rogue One, which I'm not crazy about either. Go ahead, Caleb.
I loved in those couple of episodes there with the Geonosis, how the Geonosis is trying to tell them that they're building the Death Star. He's like drawing the circle within a circle. And they're like, oh, it's his egg. It's his baby. And it's like, no, they were building the Death Star there, which is a callback to Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
which is super cool.
Yeah.
But it's just like they were building the Death Star there. It's trying to tell you, you idiots.
Yeah.
Best part of the show.
I liked the callback that Tarkin did. He was talking to some general and he was like, does anybody know about Operation Stardust? Which is a reference to Rogue One, which I thought that was cool. I caught that this time. I was like, oh, they did. Yeah, that's cool.
I didn't even think about that. Dude, the last time we reviewed Rogue One,
I love that movie. Got the album right there.
I liked it more, and it'll be interesting whenever we actually start diving into our Star Wars episodes more. I don't remember hardly anything about it because again, it was just one of those things. Like everyone talks about how cool Rebels is and like how cool Kanan is and yada yada yada, and I couldn't connect with Kanan. I don't connect with Rogue One like at all. Like there's some cool stuff for sure, and it's frustrating because I wish I did, but I just don't. Go ahead, Rex.
Me and Mikey agree on something. I love Rogue One too.
I love
So
Rogue
good.
One too, man. It's awesome.
No, that's fine. And there's no like picky reason other than I just don't like it. I just don't. I'm like, cool. Like, I don't know. I guess the Star Wars that I just really love. But if I can't get into it, I just, it's not. I'm not saying you're wrong for whatever. I'm frustrated that I can't be one of you. But
I love that they committed to them all dying at the end.
Yes.
Yep.
That
Like,
is what makes it good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just
excited
have
for that
Gabe-
show.
Yeah.
yeah, you guys can literally just do your own Rogue One episode. I'll just sign out. Oh, you know what I mean? Like
You want
you
to?
guys just go ahead
Sorry.
and do it.
Sorry.
You know what? Better yet, we'll get Ethan on, and you guys
There we
just
go.
Speak out about it together. He can commandeer, just like how on retro reviews every time we get on retro. I listen to the retro reviews episodes. Rex and Caleb are like, God, Gabe sucks. He's such a freaking horrible host. He has the worst takes. I hate him. He sucks. And I'm like, oh, those guys.
I don't think we said that much.
No, I was funny enough. I was listening to that episode and I was like in the tub listening to it. Like, and as soon as it happened, I was like what? I was like, I've got hurt feelings. I like had my glass of wine in the bathtub while I'm listening to that episode. I'm like, what the heck? It was like kind of
Yeah. What the heck?
yeah, it was just
We
kind of a funny picture to paint for you. You know what I mean? So there's that. But no, I'm excited to go through Rogue One again. My Star Wars palette is being refined, guys. Maybe I'll be on your level one day. I don't know. We'll see.
Can you just say like on the record that you would rather watch Rise of Skywalker than Rogue One?
I would
Oof.
rather watch Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi. I would rather watch literally anything else. I would rather rewatch this series than have to watch Rogue One.
Quick question.
Okay, thank you.
Solo or Rogue One?
Kind of one and the same. I mean, I like Solo.
Huh.
It's
Really?
cool. I
Dude,
don't
I got
hate
that-
I don't hate those movies. I don't hate them. I'm not saying that.
Man.
They're not my favorite. They're not even close to being my favorite. I would here put it to you this way. I would rather watch Attack of the Clones than watch Solo or Rogue One.
It's funny. The only two movies that I know that Gabe doesn't like, I have both of the soundtracks and I love both of them.
Like what? What two movies?
Solo and Rogue One.
Oh.
I love those are like two of my favorite Star Wars movies.
I like both of those movies a lot too.
I probably
Solo gets
like
way
them-
too much hate.
I probably like. I'm not hating on it. I probably like them the same amount as I like the Clone or Attack of the Clones. I probably like them as
Well,
much.
you saying that basically means that you hate him.
Wow.
I don't know,
That's a
man.
low bar.
Yeah.
That's
We'll see.
crazy.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Attack of the Clones way more this past time I watched it. So we'll see what happens
Not
this
bad.
next time.
Huh.
What's crazy? I'm interested to see what we think of the prequels after going through the Clone Wars. You know what I mean? So
Attack of the Clone. Which one is that? Episode
2.
2?
yeah, episode 2 with the weird sand scene.
Oh,
It's
God.
rough. It's coarse. It gets everywhere. It's irritating.
I'm gonna go back through our old Phantom Menace episode and just bring out all the same points. Just roast it alive.
Oh my god, yeah, I can't wait. It'll be fun. Gentlemen, is there anything else we need to talk about before we actually wrap this episode up? Did we miss anything? Go ahead, Caleb.
Ratings.
I mean, we're gonna rate it, obviously, but is there anything you wanted to
Oh.
specifically bring out?
I just wanted to say I really like season 3, like in its entirety. I think we already have said that this has filler, but I actually enjoyed a lot of the filler there. I liked all the stuff with Sabine, and with Mandalore. I thought all that stuff was really cool. I liked the episode where basically they were having to fight the droids. That was cool. I liked the beginning of it with Ezra's kind of on the dark side. That was awesome. And I love the episode where it's I think it's called Through Imperial Eyes, where it like starts out and it's from Callus's perspective. I like that episode a lot too. and kind of the whole idea of like his kind of character development and growth. We haven't really talked about Callus at all, but
Yeah.
how he's, kind of realized like, yeah, I know, Rex, I'm sorry. But
I like Alice, but
yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting character like development and something kind of different, I guess, of him, because how many like defectors from the Empire did we know of before like Finn? Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah.
so like it's kind of cool for someone to actually, defect from that. It was interesting. So I don't know. I really like season 3. It's probably my favorite season of Rebels, but that's just me.
I agree. I think has the best filler and it's probably the best season.
I thought season 2 was the best overall.
Season 2 has the best like finale, like I would say.
Yeah, season 2,
really good.
Season 2, we had all this stuff with the clones, and I think we kind of had like the best kind of feelings of like the Clone Wars kind of sprinkled in that season, and that's also the season where we had Callus, kind of like the beginnings of Callus and Zeb's friendship, that whole thing and stuff like that, and then obviously the finale was awesome, and there was some really good Inquisitor stuff in there. I think that was probably my favorite season overall.
Yeah, it's really close between the two. And season 2 definitely has the best shot in the season of Vader coming down on top of his TIE Advanced, like standing on top of it with his lightsaber out. It's really
season
cool.
4, I think season 4 had the best performance across the board, like in terms of like voice acting and stuff like that. Like everyone nailed it. And I think I believed the characters' motivations for the most part more than ever in season 4, which that's how it should be. So
even the wolves, did they nail it?
Doom. Doom. I was like, at first thought, I was like, oh my God, they're going to eat Ezra. Awesome. This is going to be great. Like, what if they did just like, just like chow down on Ezra Bridger? It's like, wow, what happened to Ezra? I don't know. Yeah, that'd be crazy. All right. Now it's time to wrap up this bad boy with a rating, with a score, a wannabe's honest opinion from the 4 of us. Remember, the rules stands as there is no decimals anymore, gentlemen. You got to pick one. You got to pick a hard. Jace, shout out to Jace Gamble for calling me out and saying that was the stupidest rule ever. And then whenever I told him it's harder to pick a score, he was like, "Yeah, you're right." So, anyways, Caleb, what's your wannabe's honest opinion on this on these last 2 seasons together?
I'd say it's an 8. Like it's solid, TV. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not like the greatest thing, and as we've seen, it's not like every single person's gonna like love it and fall in love with it, but there's a lot of good there. And I think if you really love Star Wars and if you can relate to the characters, I think that's a big part of this. If you can relate and kind of grasp onto 1 or 2 of the characters in this group of people, I think Rebels is definitely a TV show you need to check out and watch.
Mikey?
Does anybody know what we gave Clone Wars?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Like collectively, man, who knows?
Collectively, or
I think we did. I think we gave it a. I don't know, dude. That's someone's job.
We were all over I think we were all over the place because we did it season by season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what my total was. I think it was like 7 something.
Yeah, I would say mine was probably around a 7 average.
Yeah.
I would give Clone Wars. I would definitively say Clone Wars is a 7 across the board, even though there's moments that are like
5 probably was what we said. I don't remember.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's neither here nor there. What's your score for this show?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably like a 8.596. No, it's probably an 8, like Caleb. I mean, it is a really good show. I enjoy it. I liked it a good amount more than Clone Wars because I really struggled with Clone Wars, and I watched this first, but I don't know. I just connected with the characters more, and it was an easier story to follow. There wasn't any jumping around in the timeline and stuff like that. I really liked it. I think it's a solid 8 for sure.
Okay. Rex?
For me, it's going to be a 7. And I kind of liked it for what I've seen in Clone Wars. So far, I'm liking them equally, or maybe favoring Clone Wars a little bit. that's just me. I feel like I wasn't able to really get into the season for some reason. Maybe it was because I binged. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it in, a few years or whenever I watch it again, and maybe I'll like it more. But uh, it's still like I still liked the plot and what they were going for. That's why it's a 7 for me. So like they hit a lot of good things in it. Thrawn too. So yeah.
Caleb.
I was just gonna say him saying maybe coming back to it. I feel like after watching the Ahsoka series, I'm probably gonna want to have to come back and watch Rebels again. Just that's kind of how I see that going.
Well said.
Hit the high notes.
Yeah.
I think there's part of me that likes the show a lot more than I liked Clone Wars. And then there's parts of me that really liked it about the same. I think the biggest difference is that this kind of cut to the point more and had more relatable things, I think, found within it. And I ultimately just cared about the filler more. Like, I thought the Saw Gerrera stuff was awesome. Like, to be able to see more of that character that we saw in the Clone Wars, and then really the first time I ever saw him was in Rogue One. That was kind of like a full circle moment. Not to mention they got someone that sounded exactly like, not what's his name that plays.
It is him.
It is him. It's the same guy that voiced him.
Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds exactly like him, so that makes sense.
Forrest Whitaker?
Forrest Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it? Are you sure, Mikey? It's Forrest.
Yeah, I just looked at the cast list like a couple days ago.
Really? Well, that makes sense. It sounds exactly like him. I liked the filler. I thought the filler felt more meaningful, and I think that's kind of like the Filoni touch. And to me, it was like the entire series felt a lot more kind of like the last season of the Clone Wars, because Filoni kind of had his hand in that as well, but just with the touch more filler. But overall, I think it's still super solid Star Wars, and I will be revisiting it for sure. So for me, it's going to be an 8. I think it's a solid 8. Go ahead, Rex.
I just want to say that the Clone Wars, what I kind of liked about the Clone Wars, I think this is where I differ from you guys, is like seeing what's going on in the other parts of the universe, during Star Wars. Like, I just thought that was cool, seeing the other races and what's happening with and how their governments are run. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, and very much in our reviews of those shows, like that was basically like the same thing as you. Like, those were our high points. We enjoyed seeing the different parts, but ultimately we felt like it just kind of lacked in terms of what does this have to do with the overarching story.
Right.
And
Rebels
I think Rebels plays it a little more close, and it's more of like, this is the goal, this is what we're advancing. Even the filler has to do with what's progressing the story, and a lot of times in Clone Wars it just didn't really feel that way, or at least it didn't for me, and I would be like, what does this have to do with anything? Droids, so much droid stuff. Honestly, I didn't even watch the droid episodes that were in season 3. I'm like, not doing it. Skipped it, didn't watch it. Chopper's cool and all, but I mean, no, not doing it.
It's better droid stuff than it was in Clone Wars.
For sure, but still.
Yeah.
No. Chopper's a murderer, by the way. We can just
thousands,
there, like
hundreds of thousands of people.
Good on you, man. That's one astromech I would never want to cross. So
yeah.
So it's an 8 from me. It's an 8 from Caleb. It's an 8 from Mikey, and it's a 7 from Rex. That's a pretty decent score overall, ladies and gentlemen. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for giving up your time. I feel like we covered that pretty well. Honestly, there were a lot of things we didn't touch on that we kind of skated over. Like the Darksaber stuff. The Callus stuff. There was stuff there for sure that we could have touched, that we could have spent more time on, but I feel like we hit the high points for sure. So there's that. That's going to wrap it up for us on this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up our Rebels reviews. Thank you for sticking along with us. As I said before in the outset of the show, there's a variety of ways you can get in touch with us. There's a variety of ways that you can consume stuff that we're a part of. There's a few different ways that you can support the show. So let us know how we're doing. Give us a review on, even if it's 1 star. Like, even if you literally made it to the end of this episode and you're like, I gotta tell these guys how much they suck, it honestly would do a lot of good to me. Like, I would like to know, honestly.
It would boost my confidence.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like takes self deprivation to a new level. You know, it's like, God, I
Right.
suck. And then when someone reinforces that, it's like, oh, maybe I can do something with my life.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I do suck.
New suits, yay! You know, so there's that.
We love the haters. Bring them.
Bring them on. And you know what? I will read it. I will literally read the worst comment possible on the show. You know, we'll do a what's good games. We'll read, you know, the reviews that they do, and we'll pull one of those maneuvers. So as long as there's no profanity in it.
Gabe's just sobbing.
Yeah, I'm like
He's in his bubble bath sobbing.
with my glass of wine.
Wine.
Yeah. I just like dump it. Yeah, I'm like the Will Ferrell meme. Yeah, exactly. So, be on the lookout for all upcoming content in the future. Of course, we would definitely love to hear from you, and you know, we're excited for things to come in the future. As always, we're constantly trying to put out the best stuff we can for the time that we have to put into it. So, thank you so much for supporting us, ladies and gentlemen. Caleb, say goodbye.
Adios, amigos.
Mikey,
Yes.
go ahead and say goodbye if you don't mind.
Oh, bye.
Rex, you know, don't make it weird. Just, you know, kind of move it along.
Buenas noches.
He made it weird.
Thank you so much, ladies and gents. We'll see you next time. Whatever possessed you to check out the podcast or the YouTube channel today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If this is your first time here, I would appreciate it, you know, if you would consider subscribing. As you can tell, it's not just me here anymore. I mean, I do stuff by myself, but the podcast is going to reside here from now on, you know, in video form. So if you want to see more content, if you want to be notified, you know, every time we post something, whether it be a clip, a podcast, a review, an interview, whatever it may be, if it's gaming stuff, make sure you click that bell and hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for sticking around, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I'm Gabriel Fast. I will always be the wannabe critic.